over on Facebook. Oh, there we go. Hey. Welcome, Facebook Live, to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports. You see this? I'm sorry. Get it backwards. Episode 265. So now people are over on Facebook, so you can see the calamity that is going on live radio, on live video. So I don't know if it's better looking on video than radio, but it is on video. So I appreciate all of you tuning in now on Facebook Live. I'm for sure going to have this up on YouTube as well. There will be a full podcast version, not video. It's all 3 hours of the show that will be available over on YouTube, as well as Spreaker. Again, if you head on over, download the free Spreaker app. And in Facebook here, I will add the link, right? Go over and follow us on Spreaker so you can get all the new shows and listen to it live. Whereas on Blog Talk, you get the first 2 hours live. SoundCloud, you get the full podcast. You can go over to the website, thechtonsports.com, which let's see which hand do I use. This one, which you can see here. If you're on Facebook, because in Facebook you get the last hour or so of the show. See Brandon in there. Hey Brandon, what's up? Feel free. Yeah, you could type in there. Go ahead, type stuff. Just if you want to be entertained, type stuff while I'm talking. So I read while I talk, and then you can watch my face do funny things, because I look generally confused if I'm talking and reading at the same time. My brain doesn't do that very well. So, you got the other stuff? Yeah. You just send it over to me. I'll put it up. I'll pull it up over here. So just kind of recap on college football. I see here by the show next week having decisions made on both the situation at Maryland and at Ohio State. Love you, Brandon. Ohio State has a self-imposed deadline of Friday. So in the next 72 hours, roughly, we will probably have a decision from Ohio State of what they're going to do with Urban Meyer. Now, a source of mine has told me that they don't necessarily think that Urban Meyer is going to get terminated at Ohio State. They are looking and seeing and figuring out ways that within reason they can keep him there. Because if they fire him, that's $45 million they have to cut a check for, plus his whole staff. I'm pretty sure Gene Smith, the athletic director there, is going to be out after this, even if Urban is not. He was there at the end for Trussell when all the shenanigans were going on for Trussell. He's been there for this entire situation and kind of the meltdown of the wrestling program as well at Ohio State too. So 3 big incidents under his watch that we know of. So I don't see Gene Smith making it out of this, and I don't think the president is going to allow for that either. So the president came on after Gene did. So this wasn't a guy that he hired. So as far as the Maryland situation, that's going to be a clean house situation. They're going to clean house. Like I said, this is only their second or third year really as a unit there at Maryland. I know they were hoping to move things around and get things in a better situation as far as on the field. But just this day and age, trying to rule by fear and intimidation just doesn't work. People don't buy into that anymore. You have to have substance to what you're doing. So fear and intimidation just breeds resentment. And you can tell things are kind of getting away from him, because when you have current players, when you have your staff members, when you have previous players that are coming to members of the media saying, "Hey, this is how it is there. It's not a good situation. It's not a favorable situation. It's unfortunate that it took someone dying to have this come about. But at the end of the day, I think the university did a good job today, stepping up. The president said it was their responsibility. They accepted the responsibility. That Jordan McNair dying on their watch, that they had something to do with if not the causation, but more so not enough towards the prevention of it. And again, it comes back to that culture. When you try to lead by fear, and you want to motivate through fear, you are going to lose people. People don't want to be pushed around. People don't want to be told what to do. They want to understand that what they're doing has cause and purpose. People don't want to waste their time with BS. Call it the lazy millennial if you want to, but it sounds like it's being well versed at decision making. So I don't fault people for asking questions. I mean, isn't that necessarily what we do? Educate the consumer. We say educate yourself before you make a decision. Call 3 or 4 different plumbers before you have somebody coming out in an emergency to fix those pipes. I'm telling you, if you have your pipes busted, you're calling 3 plumbers, you clearly are not worried about a flooding situation. But nonetheless, educating ourselves and educating the people around us is something that is definitely very important to each and every one of us. And now that we're in a situation to where we need that sort of thing. Don't get upset because people want to. Because people want to make quality decisions. Okay. All right. So I see Maryland. That's a total. They're going to wipe that situation out. They're going to start all the way over with that program. Where does this go from here? Does this go back to the University of Florida? Because Urban Meyer really implicated both. He threw Florida under the bus first, but then kind of in a softer ways, administration at Ohio State probably should have done something a little bit more too. So see Troy's on there. Thanks for joining in, Troy. But again, not good situations either way. And yet, this is stuff coming off. There's. And the thing is, like, people have been crucifying Brett McMurphy. Why? People literally upset because he's asking questions. He's a journalist. The hell did you want him to do? It's funny. Kevin was talking in the second hour of the show. If they don't fire the assistant coach, then people probably aren't asking questions why they fired the assistant coach. And the irony of it, him staying on longer or not getting fired maybe stops or prevents this really from happening. Or if it's done in the off season, maybe it quietly goes away. Coaches get fired all the time. You fire a guy at the end of the season. We need to see a change. And that's the question: is why isn't Urban being prepped on these questions? If your coach got fired, you should be able to go with your PR person and talk through and walk through every scenario that you're going to get at. So in Chicago at media days, he completely fumbles it. He lies, and then you try to say, "Yeah, I didn't know, I didn't lie," and try to spin it. There's very rare situations that spinning it makes you look good, or makes it so you don't look bad. Just look at the White House Twitter page. That's fun, right? Spin zone there. Why are you getting political? I'm not getting political. I'm just stating a fact. They contradict themselves all the time. They put out one piece of information and then come back with another piece of information that contradicts that. I'm just saying that's basically what you get from the White House press room. That is a job that is probably one of the most difficult jobs, because you can say something as definitively as you want with all the facts, and 140 characters later, what you said just went down the shitter, essentially. So, is Matt joining in? Hey, Matt, how's it going? And Brandon over here on Facebook is asking about what about suspensions for half the season? Talking about for Urban? Talking about expand on that. Right now, he is on administrative leave. They're trying to determine if they're going to fire him or not. So to suspend him for half the season, I don't know if that does a lot. It's kind of the situation that the NFL looked at during the Bountygate situation, where they suspended a coach from all football, any football activities for a significant period of time. I don't know if there's not in these situations, because there was schools with the programs, most of the time punishments is the way the NCAA, because again, the NCAA is the quasi-judicial oversight committee. That's what they do. They oversee this. They determine if there is something violated there, to suspend, whether to fine. So the fines aren't necessarily levied on the coaches, more so on the institution. They can fine coaches. The schools can fine coaches. So they can't charge anybody. There's no legal grounds with the NCAA or with the school. That would have to be done with a district attorney in whatever state they determine this happened in. But I think especially with the Urban Meyer situation, I know a lot of people keep coming back to that because it seems to be the one that's the most up in the air, the most, of where he may not get fired. Again, my sources have said that to that effect, he may not get fired. But kind of the trend is that if someone under your watch or under your responsibility commits an act or has committed an act, or if you don't do things the right way in dealing with them, then it ultimately falls back on the figurehead. And the thing is, if the situation didn't get reported, again, Urban's wife works in the nursing program there at OSU. So she's bound by Title IX as well. So she has to report any sort of incident that happens. So if she's knowledgeable of it, she also has to report that. So if Urban did pass it up the chain and she didn't, I mean, she could end up getting canned and he doesn't. So it really is going to be interesting. Ohio State has set a self-imposed deadline of Friday to come to a decision on this matter, if they're going to move forward with terminating him or keeping him on staff. Again, $45 million is in this situation. The school wants to understand that if they're going to cut a check to him for $45 million plus all of his staff, which I guess right now would include the individual that they just fired that got this whole thing started. They want to see where that money's going to go here first, and from the victim's perspective, it's terrible. But at the end of the day, the schools, these institutions, have to make decisions. You know, it costs them a lot of money, a lot of reputation, and not to say they don't want to do right by the victim and bring justice, but they want to make sure that they're not making rash decisions and just firing people willy-nilly. Again, this is where a lot of coaches we're seeing are these 7, 8, 10-year contracts, which they're not guaranteed. They're all guaranteed to an extent, and there are bonuses and stuff on top of that. But the long-term contract is what's allowing the coaches to have more range and flexibility. That's what gives them the security. Because if you fire someone that has a 10-year contract and you owe them, $5 million a year, like in Urban's case, they were going $45 or $47 million. Obviously that's a pretty substantial amount of money. So they do that as security. Now, with the new rules that got put in, the new contracts with coaches, because of so many issues with Title IX, these sort of things are worked in there. So they could fire him for violating Title IX, and they could void his money, depending on the language of the contract. So the school also has to do their due diligence, because if they think they're going to fire him and not pay him, they will still have to pay his staff what is owed for. When typically they only have like 2 or 3 year contracts. If you're an assistant coach, you're not getting a long-term deal. There's a lot of different reasons, but they don't. The head coach is the one that gets the long deal that they're securing. So again, they want to do their due diligence not only to see if they can keep him and not have to pay that bailout or buyout rather, but also if he violates Title IX and the contract, the language in the contract says that voids what they would owe him, the buyout is no longer applicable, then they just saved $45 million, and now they can spend that money on finding the next head coach. So, predictions, previews, and I'll answer some questions on college football. I'm not doing the previews and predictions this week. I will do those next week. Yes, I will do those on Facebook as well. Okay. No, I'm not going to get deep into NBA. I was going to talk about the Lakers. That's all I ever talk about. Yeah, NBA. That's it. Just where the you're funny. Okay. I mean, LeBron James plays for the Lakers, best player in the league. Magic Johnson, probably one of the biggest figureheads in the NBA, most well-known guy. I mean, people that don't know what basketball is know who Magic Johnson is. He runs the Lakers. Kind of some moves and stuff they've done is a pretty big deal. And then you have this helicopter dad over here, and LeVar Ball that seems to say some pretty peculiar or interesting things. I do. Well, since you've read me, you've led me down this rabbit hole, let me go ahead and do that. Speaking of LeVar Ball, what was he on? Okay, he was on a show, which will remain nameless, evidently. Thanks, producer. Trying your whole job, find shit like that out, but whatever. And said that, the Lakers are not LeBron's team. They're Lonzo's team, because Lonzo was there first and LeBron came to LA. I guess. I don't get the point of this. When did that come out? Friday. It's Tuesday. Okay. Well, here, let me throw this on there. Okay. People care less and less about what LeVar Ball says. I can tell that because he said that shit on Friday and today is Tuesday. And you're just, well, obviously my show's on Tuesday, but I didn't hear about it before today. Okay, people are writing articles on it today. So talking about it today. Evidently, so it didn't become attuned to anyone's ear. It was on a national show, but it didn't come to attuned to anyone's ear until Tuesday. 4 days later. 4 days. It doesn't matter whose team it is. I really don't understand. Oh, this is LeBron's team. It's Kyrie's team. It's Lonzo's team. Who cares? It's the Lakers. Let's play basketball. Let's just deal with the basketball part of it. I don't care whose ego is attached to said team. Who cares? If that's LeVar Ball's logic, that Lonzo was there first, so it's his team. Okay, well, it's Magic's team. He was there before all of them. It's Jeannie Buss's team. She was there before all of them. I mean, literally, it is her team. She is the majority owner of the team. So, in all purposes, she is really her. Literally, is her team. Let's see him play basketball. I really don't understand the point of that. And here's the thing is, the funny thing is with Lonzo Ball, his rookie year wasn't bad. I mean, he's not a good shooter. He has a weird shot, but they didn't bring him in to be a shooter. He's a distributor, a true point. He's playing more of a true point, and that's what they needed. And it has have to back him up. And then you have Josh Hart that'll play the one or the two. So you got a nice little medley of players that can be at the one. And then LeBron, who will also bring the ball down as a 3 or 4, which kind of adds a different dynamic as well. So he likes to be more of a facilitator. So if you got one guy that's a distributor and one guy is a facilitator, so that's 2 out of 5 people that are moving the ball. That means ball movement. You see where I'm going with this? The coach's whole dynamic is based on ball movement, on making the offense fluid. The ball movement opens up for shots. Moving the ball around and setting screens opens up the floor, because the defense can't just sit back in a zone. They have to push more towards man. They can't be lazy. It forces the defenses to have to play. And that also means more one-on-one ISO opportunities, and it will wreak havoc. I mean, we saw with Houston. Houston came within a few terrible James Harden shots and not showing up like he should in the playoffs from beating the team that some have deemed the dynasty of our lifetime. I don't really buy into that, but and the Warriors. So obviously they're not invincible. They almost lost to Houston, who, by the way, Houston is remarkably worse this year. Losing the guys that they have, particularly Trevor Ariza, who's a damn good defender, and he's a sizable body to put out there, an okay shooter as well. And pick up Melo, who I don't know if he could spell defense. Probably can, but I'm not betting money on it. I don't know what the odds are, 100 to 1 that he understands defense. I'm sure he's heard about it, but it's not something he's practicing. It's not really his thing. He's pretty much get the ball and shoot. So that's kind of been his entire career. He's the entire reason he has never won a championship. Basically, actually. And he will also probably likely be the reason that Houston doesn't win a title. Yeah. More so than James Harden not showing up in the postseason. He's an over-embellished role player. That's what he is. He doesn't want to come off the bench. He doesn't want to role play. He doesn't want to be a role player. But at the same time, he's not a good leader, because shoot isn't leading anybody into anything but maybe rebounds and turnovers. I don't know. Yeah. And again, like I said, like I told you guys in June, Carmelo Anthony is not going to get it. Is done as far as his contracts and stuff. I said he would be a mid-level minimum, $5 million or less. And what do you know, kids? 1 year, 2.4-ish, right around that, $2.4 million. So they are paying him $2.4 million. Again, larger, and they had room. They could have went up to 5. I think they had 6.1 available for their mid-level minimum. So I said $5 million or less, and it's 2.4. It just really goes to show that there wasn't interest there. And just to show you, people really don't care to play with Melo and his ball hogging and BS. There was so much talk about when LeBron was, is he going to stay in Miami? Is he going to go to Cleveland? You know, oh, there's New York. He's always wanted to play with Melo. Now, people really don't want to. Kobe, I think, was just reaching on getting a star to stick. As much as that hurts to say. He was trying to get a star to stick, and it didn't work out. And he opted in New York because that was where the most money was. I'm happy they did because he did because for the Lakers' sake, that means the only, Mozgov and Dang were the shitty contracts. Think about another $26 million in cap hit that you'd be taking. So, thanks, Melo. You really helped the Lakers dodge a bullet there. Good job. One decision I'm probably the most happy he made. Yes. No, LeBron, I said when LeBron left Miami, his last year there in Miami when they lost, the last title they lost, I said he will end up in LA. He'll end up a Laker. Go back. Like, these shows are literally all recorded. You can just go over to thechtonsports.com, upper left-hand corner, hit listen, and just scroll your ass down till you get to 4 years ago, or blogtalkradio.com. Click on episodes and scroll your ass through there. They're literally all recorded. So you can call them BS on everything I say and go fact check it. So, because it's the Lakers. That's why. You guys, so it doesn't sound like a weirdo reading it. Not reading what made you think it's the Lakers. Yeah, I think he was destined to go to LA. Most major basketball players in the last several decades, in one way or another, have ended up at the Lakers. Yep. Few to be exception to that. And the thing is, he likes he liked the brand, he liked the opportunity of the Lakers. He's always saw himself, and I've kind of also compared him that way more to a Magic Johnson than to a Michael Jordan anyways. His size, the way he plays, is more Magic Johnson than Michael. So, yeah, absolutely. There's attraction there. The production and directing that he does, and yeah, with his shows and cinematography and stuff like that. His businesses, his pizza place, and some of the other businesses that he's invested to are largely based out of LA or Silicon Valley. So he obviously, being more centered there, more opportunities come there. I mean, big ideas could start there. That's really became more of the beginning for some business people to start with opportunity. You get more diverse from LA and Southern California, and then New York. Miami was just a unique situation. Pat Riley sold him. Speaking of that Heat team, what Carmelo needs to do is learn how he can do his best impression of Ray Allen. Because if he can do his best impression of Ray Allen, I think that is really going to help out. That's really going to help out Houston. But somewhere along the line, the Rockets are going to need to get another forward and some people that will play defense. So they need to start scoping out what kind of trades and stuff they're going to have to make to do that. I have full confidence in their front office to be able to piece those sort of things together. Chris Paul and that a little bit too much max 5-year deal. Yeah. Clearly they had some confidence that they could get people in there. So okay. OKC's OKC. They're going to end up the same place as they were. As far as playoff teams, as far as what you want to call upper echelon, I'd say they're upper echelon mediocrity. That's the OKC Thunder. They win enough basketball for the fans to stay engaged, and it's a Midwest team, very college-like atmosphere. There's a lot of things that kind of go on in OKC, but this is their baby, this is their sports franchise. So outside of Oklahoma State, this is what they have. So the fan base is very engaged. They have good attendance numbers. They have good viewership numbers. So they win enough to keep everybody engaged all the time. It's kind of, if you're a baseball fan, they are very much a local market. There's not a lot of people that are looking to watch OKC nationally, even though Westbrook won MVP a couple of years ago, and they were able to keep Paul George. Wiley, they're really not a national team. They're very much a local team, and the local market embraces them. It's kind of like the Rays. The Rays are like that. The Houston Astros are like that. Up until like the last couple of years, it's kind of been like that. There are not in major sports. There are not a lot of teams in most sports that are really translate to national or international. They just don't. But OKC does fine for their mark. They're not going to lose money. People aren't going to stop coming. They're upper echelon mediocrity. They're not good enough to win a title, but they're good enough to make it to make the club, some extra money in playoff revenue. So, well, I'm getting off the basketball take. Got about 15 minutes left in the show. 15 minutes, okay. No tap on the shoulder. Hey, Matt, you're running along on the basketball segment. We got 15 minutes. I'm going to need a new producer. Can you hear me? You heard me. Anyways. Okay, so one of the questions, okay, I'm getting here on the direct message from Twitter. Am I ready to eat crow about Baker Mayfield? No, I'm not eating crow about Baker Mayfield. What would make you think? What happened to make anybody think that Baker Mayfield has arrived? By the way, I had him at the end of first round, beginning of second round, as far as the draft pick. I do think he's an NFL quarterback. I've always thought that. But I thought his value was closer to the end of the first round than the first overall freaking pick. So I have a source that told me that they were interested in taking him at 1. But again, that time of year is so crazy. You wouldn't believe the things that people say. If I would look like the biggest phoebe in the world if I just reported everything that I was told, that time of year. You have to sift through the information that you're given. I don't report everything. Let's take the Rays stadium location. 2.5 years. I sat on that for 2.5 years. I reported it on the actual location in November. Go back and check Twitter. I reported in November. The team didn't announce till February. I sat on it for 2.5 years. And I gave the exact location of where the stadium's going to be built, what streets in Ybor, where the parking's going to go, and then pending some outcomes of some legal stuff, where they're going to be putting in condos and storefronts. It's been there since November. It's not news. But in February, local Tampa news thought they were breaking a story. Tampa has announced this. This is where it's going to go. Yeah. Don't credit me or tag me. It's free. It's on the house. It's on the house. But as far as Baker Mayfield, no, he's good. Like I said, my comp to him, not is his playing style, or this is who he, is his embodiment. But when I watched him play, his mannerisms and some of the things he did just remind me of Brett Favre. That's who he reminded me of. And then to hear Dorsey say that on the day of the draft, why he picked him, that makes more sense. Now, I would have ran with that had Dorsey said that before, or somebody said Dorsey. This reminds him. See, I don't know. It would have seemed more legitimate. Where I don't get where people get these ideas. Okay. I didn't think he was a first overall pick talent. He's an NFL quarterback. All right. I'll get on to the next question. I gotta get away from Twitter. Nuts. You nuts on Twitter. I tell you. What do you see for Nebraska football this season? Well, I see that Scott Frost is getting some of his stuff back. His house that he's having renovated, they've been renovating for 4 or 5 months or something like that. He has some stuff in the garage. The garage door wasn't locked. Some kids, literally 16, 17-year-old kids, went inside there, rummaged through his stuff, took a bunch of stuff. 2 have been arrested. Did they get another one? I'll text my source and ask. The rings, by the way, from what I understand, is the rings that they thought were stolen, they found. Not stolen, but found. Oops. Do you ever lose something and then blame somebody and you're like, oh, well, I found it. It was actually under the seat of my car. They didn't steal it from me. You leave your wallet in a pair of pants in the hamper. Bleh. Hamster ain't my wallet. In the hamper. And you're like, oh, shit. That shady guy that was at my house, that my friends of a friend's bring up, I think he took my wallet. You're like, fuck. Do I tell my friend that his friend's friend, I think he took my wallet? I mean, what do I do? Let me go do it. Oh, wait, here's my wallet. It's in the laundry. Yeah. Ever have that happen? Yeah, evidently it also happens to Scott Frost too. Well. At least it's not. At least it was. At least is something that was taken and could be recovered, and it wasn't like a natural gas main exploding underneath the house like happened a few months ago. Not all that far from there, where he's going to be living, or his coaching staff also are going to be living too. So, looking at the silver lining, I guess. As far as Nebraska, what do I say? What do I say here? So, pretty much an 8-9 win team. Mike Riley got that 1 year out of him. I think Scott is a good enough coach to get 8 or 9 wins out of Nebraska. You know, the real struggle with the Nebraska program isn't necessarily the coaching staff or the athletes or, administration. The issue is the revolt of fans. If you're not doing, like, this is expected, and you're not doing this, just a little above what is kind of expected. If it's not playing for conference championships and in the top for national championships, what are we doing? That's kind of the thought, Now, I believe people will be patient. If they were patient with Bo for 3 or 4 years, I mean, Scott Frost has a 10-year contract, literally 10 years. So stop stealing his shit and break into his house, and let the man work. He got some talent there, and he has people he can work with. He has a good staff. I got 5 minutes. 5 minutes left in the show. So maybe. Sometimes it cuts out. Don't cut me off early. So anyways, as far as the quarterbacks, rookie from last year, Nathan Peterman, kid out of Pittsburgh. I had really high praises for him in January when I saw him and Rush. Rush is now the backup in Dallas to Dak Prescott. He played pretty well this preseason. But Nathan Peterman, he's starting to come into his own. Like I said, out of the guys I saw there, he's an NFL quality quarterback, and he had a rough start. He's kind of the situation where I think we need to do something about the statistic that they call an interception. I think we need to look at it in the same way that they look at hits, hits, infield ground, infield fly rule, is an error. How did they reach first base? Is it just, or pitching? I mean, even the pitcher, is it a pass ball? Is it a wild pitch? I mean, because we look at these stats like interception and completion percentage, and we assume that these have something to do, that this is the accuracy. That paints a picture of an accuracy of a quarterback. If you're on 3rd and long and you throw an interception deep, that's basically punting that's just a punt. It's a punt to play early. You saved your kicker's leg. That's really all it is. Because, that's really what it is. It really didn't kill the team or momentum. Shouldn't, because essentially it's a punt to play early. There's a lot of times what did the receiver do? Did they get I'm seeing a lot of young guys don't understand how to get in and out of their routes in and out of their breaks. What do you do when to break off a route? I mean, if you're going on a post route and the defender's in front of you because you cut behind him instead of in front of him, you just gave 2 steps back. So if you see that and